"What are you doing? Help!" shouted Alison when she saw two strong men beating up a young man. Her cry attracted the attention of people around, and the attackers fled down a dark alley. Alison rushed to the young man lying on the ground. After a quick examination and a few questions, she breathed a sigh of relief. The stranger was conscious, and although he was breathing heavily, he seemed to have no serious injuries. "Why did they do this to you?" she asked, helping the stranger to his feet. "I have no idea," he smiled. "By the way, my name is Kevin. And you, my beautiful saviour? You must be a doctor. You examined me so professionally." "I'm Alison, and yes, you're almost right, I'm a nurse. I work nearby at the hospital." Alison suggested that Kevin come with her to the hospital to see the on-duty traumatologist and make sure there were no injuries. There, he was given a painkiller, an X-ray was taken, and after confirming that everything was okay, he was sent home. The next day, Kevin invited Alison to celebrate his miraculous rescue. They sat in a cafe, drank tea, and chatted. Kevin couldn't stop thanking the girl for her courage and kindness, which helped him avoid serious injuries. He showered her with compliments and jokes. Alison was pleased and flattered by the attention of such a handsome guy. However, in the morning, she had to rush to work, so she started getting ready to go home. Kevin understood that he had unintentionally kept the girl, and to compensate for the inconvenience, he immediately called her a taxi. Alison sat in the car thinking she would never see Kevin again, so she was surprised when he showed up the next day after work with a huge bouquet of flowers. He invited her to dinner, and though Alison was tired after a hard shift, she agreed. She liked Kevin and wanted to continue seeing him. From then on, Kevin often met Alison after work, and after 3 weeks, he moved into her small apartment. Alison had been living alone since her mother's death, and while her mother was sick, Alison didn't have time for her personal life. And now she finally felt an irresistible desire to live and start a family. 2 weeks later, Alison realized she was pregnant. Kevin didn't refuse to marry her, but explained he wanted to find a good job, earn money, and then propose to her properly and have a grand wedding. Although she wanted a white dress and a beautiful celebration, she considered Kevin's arguments reasonable and decided to discuss the issue later. Alison found Kevin a good job through her acquaintances. Soon he began earning well, and Alison believed their plans could soon come true. She dreamed of living in a big house, buying a car, getting a dog, and having a child who would play with the dog all day. To help Kevin, she worked until the very delivery. With work and worries, Alison didn't immediately notice how Kevin had changed. He distanced himself, came home late, and became abrupt and irritable. Alison was already 8 months pregnant when Kevin came home late one day, heavily intoxicated, and they had their first argument. "Why are you so late, Kevin? I'm worried," Alison asked. "And why are you in such a state?" "Yes, I'm drunk, so what?" Kevin shouted. "I'm sick of your reproaches and your perpetually dissatisfied face. I'll do what I want, and when I want, got it?" Alison couldn't believe what she was hearing. She had never once reproached Kevin, even when he came home smelling of another woman's perfume and was rude about everything. Alison warned Kevin that if he didn't stop behaving this way, he would have to leave her home. In response, she received a powerful blow that sent her flying into the wall. "I don't want to hear any more of it. Got it?" Kevin repeated. "I'll say it again. I'll do what I want. And you just be quiet." Alison sat on the floor and cried. Her cheek burned from the blow, and when she fell, she hit her back, causing pulling pains in her stomach. Kevin ignored her condition, passed her by, and fell asleep right on the couch in his shoes. But Alison couldn't fall asleep. She realized that she didn't know Kevin well enough and had no idea what to do now. She had never kept an eye on him, thinking that relationships should be built on trust. But after tonight's events, she was unable to resist the urge to check Kevin's phone. She quickly found revealing messages with different casual acquaintances, intimate photos, and a separate folder with videos and correspondence with a woman much older than him. Reading the messages, Alison realized that Kevin had been cheating on her for a long time. The woman finally realized that she couldn't have a future with this man. She didn't dare wake him up and discuss their relationship further, fearing repeated beatings, and waited for the morning. In the morning, Kevin silently had breakfast and went to work as if nothing had happened. As soon as he left, Alison called her friend Lena for help. Lena immediately came over and helped pack Kevin's things, which they put outside the door. Then they moved Alison's most essential things to Lena's house and called a locksmith to change the locks. Alison didn't say anything to Kevin and just closed the apartment, leaving to her friend. That evening, an angry Kevin called, trying to understand why his things were outside the door and why his key didn't work. "Kevin, do you really not remember what you did yesterday? Forget about me and the child. I don't want to see you anymore," said Alison. "How dare you?" shouted Kevin. "Do you think you can scare me by taking away the child? Believe me, you will regret it." After hearing insults and threats, Alison realized she had made the right decision. She stayed with a friend until her son was born and then decided to return home. Raising her baby boy, Sam, wasn't easy, but her friends often visited and tried to help as much as they could. Alison adored her son and constantly imagined how he would grow up, play with friends, and make her many pleasant and heartwarming worries as a mother. She didn't feel lonely at all and was grateful to people who were willing to help her in difficult times. When Sam turned 1, Alison went back to work and her elderly neighbour, Mrs. Marshall, happily agreed to babysit. Mrs. Marshall's grandchildren had grown up, and now she enjoyed babysitting Sam like a real grandmother. Kevin never showed up during this time, and Alison was glad that no one was disturbing their calm and peaceful life. However, one day everything changed. "Alison, it's trouble!" the neighbour sobbed on the phone. "Sam is missing! I've already called the police!" Alison hurried home, frantic and unable to comprehend how her 1.5-year-old baby could have disappeared. As she approached the house, she saw a patrol car already there, and Mrs. Marshall, sobbing and clutching her chest, was recounting the details of what had happened. From what Alison understood, Mrs. Marshall had been walking with Sam near the playground and had briefly stepped away, entrusting the stroller with the sleeping baby to some of the neighbouring boys. She had only gone for a few minutes, but when she returned, the stroller was empty, and the boys were nowhere to be found. Alison stared in horror at the empty stroller and felt her strength leaving her. She felt sick and passed out. Sam was never found. The boys who were supposed to watch the child admitted they were playing hide-and-seek and weren't paying much attention to him. When they realized that the baby was missing, they panicked and ran away. However, one of them remembered seeing an unfamiliar car with tinted windows parked near the playground. It appears that these people stole Sam. Having waited for the right opportunity, Alison asked to check on the child's father, but it turned out that he had already left their town. Alison cried for days and was unable to even get out of bed. She had to leave her job at the hospital to avoid sympathetic looks from colleagues. It had been a year, but Alison never received news about her son. She decided to leave the city for the capital, where she was offered a job as a caregiver in a wealthy household. Mrs. Fitz, an intelligent elderly lady, hired her to take care for her grandson Peter, who was confined to a wheelchair after an accident. Deeply saddened by his misfortune, the young man was constantly in a depressed mood and didn't want to communicate with anyone. "Alison, you're such a kind and sweet girl. Try to engage Peter in conversation. Spend time with him. Maybe it'll work. It pains me to see him so gloomy and withdrawn." Alison herself felt sorry for the young man and tried to provide him with not only medical care but also moral support. She asked him genuine questions about his years spent abroad, travels, favourite books and movies, and music, in an attempt to evoke pleasant memories. At the same time, she acted carefully so as not to remind Peter of the things that were inaccessible to him now. Gradually, the young man got used to her presence, became more talkative and open, and began feeling a genuine interest in sharing his stories. Alison treated Peter warmly and felt that she was no longer just working in the house, but was gradually becoming a member of the family. Alison treated Peter warmly and felt that she was no longer just working in the house, but was gradually becoming a member of their family. Mrs. Fitz was deeply grateful for everything that Alison had done for her grandson. Thanks to her efforts, the young man had once again experienced the joy of life and begun to smile. "Alison, you have done wonders. Yesterday Peter asked me to find him a good rehabilitation specialist. He wants to fight for himself and stand on his feet again," Mrs. Fitz said, almost in tears of happiness. While cleaning Peter's room one day, Alison came across an album of photographs that she had never seen before. Peter noticed her interest and explained that the album contained pictures from his past life when he was healthy. Although he had avoided looking at them for some time and even considered throwing them away, he decided to show Alison the places he had talked about so much. Alison sat next to Peter and they started looking through photos together. Peter looked open, cheerful and happy in them, which made Alison feel sad that he was deprived of all that now. Among the photos were some from family holidays and celebrations. Alison stopped at a photo from Mrs. Fitz's anniversary and froze. Many guests were in the photo, but only one couple caught her attention. "That's my grandmother's anniversary. I think it was 2 years ago, before the accident," commented Peter, noticing Alison's interest in the photo. He started telling a funny story that happened at the celebration, but Alison hardly listened. She was looking at the photo, her heart beating wildly and her mouth dry. Trying to breathe evenly, the girl closed her eyes for a second. When she opened them again, she saw Kevin with a rather mature, elegant woman, the same one whose photo and correspondence she had seen on his phone. Most importantly, Kevin was holding a boy, and it was her Sam. "This is my son, Sam," she whispered, looking intently at Peter. "Do you know these people? Who is the man in this photo?" "Son?" Peter asked incredulously, still trying to make sense of what was happening. "No, there were many people I didn't know, but my grandma should know." Alison grabbed the album and rushed to Mrs. Fitz with tears in her eyes and begging her to identify the people in the photo. Mrs. Fitz looked at the photo and told her that the woman next to Kevin was named Lisa, and she was a friend of Mrs. Fitz's deceased daughter. "We used to be friends with her family, and a couple of years ago, Lisa married this young man. As far as I remember, it's her child." "No, that's my Sam!" Alison burst into tears. "This man, Kevin, stole him from me a few years ago." Mrs. Fitz was shocked by the girl's words. She asked her to tell the story from beginning to end and promised to do everything to help. After Alison finished her story, Mrs. Fitz and Peter were deeply moved and immediately called their lawyer and the police. As it turned out later, Kevin had indeed taken away Sam and left town with him. Before that, he had been dating a wealthy widow much older than him. Presenting himself as a caring single father, raising his son alone, he quickly won the woman over to the point where she agreed to marry him. The wretch got everything he dreamed of: money, status, and a carefree life, but he never expected the police to come after him so soon. Kevin was arrested, and Sam was taken and handed over to his mother. Lisa refused to defend her husband after learning what a cruel deceiver he turned out to be. Alison stayed in Peter's house. He worked hard on himself and eventually overcame his illness and regained his footing. A year later, he was standing on his feet, albeit leaning on a crutch, at his own wedding and hugging Alison. Peter adopted Sam, and a few years later, they all travelled together. He himself was able to show the boy all the places he had told to his mother so much about.